Welcome back to the channel, guys, and thank you for tuning in today. Today we actually have a special video. We'll be talking about King David's most famous and probably his biggest sin, which was his lust of Bathsheba. Now, most of you know this story, right? It's one of the most popular. But if you don't know the story of sin and what he regret, what happened was it was in the spring months, and King David had just sent his army to go fight, and usually during those spring months, usually the king will go with the army, just as a morale boost and whatnot. But King David decided to stay back. And so he was at his palace, or his palace basically, right? And so he's probably getting the fresh air, right? It's nice and cool. And he sees from his palace, he looks across and he sees this beautiful woman on this rooftop. And her name was Bathsheba. And she was bathing on the rooftop. And now David, instead of looking and then looking away and just walking away, he stood there and he just kept kind of watching her, looking at her, because she was this beautiful woman, right? And so right here, he's just lusting after her. And right now, he's in his midlife, right? So he should have this kind of wisdom and knowledge to not do this. But you can also look at the point of view that he's in his midlife and he might not be as close to God as he used to be. Right, and there's so many times that it's similar to what we go through nowadays, right? When you get in the sunning, let's say like a diet, right? Your first couple of weeks, you're boom, right? You're disciplined, right? You got it. And then you kind of start to fade away as the weeks go on. And so we can also see this with our faith a lot of times in God, as our faith, right? Our relationship, it can go in stages, right? We can be really close. We can be reading the Bible every day. We can be praying. We can be at the top of our game. And then we fade away. Okay, so I like to imagine that King David right now, he is faded away from God, right? And so that's why he keeps on looking at Bathsheba, when deep down he knows not to, right? That sin is right there. Okay, it's promising him this woman, and so he goes and he calls to his servants. He said, "Go get this woman, and bring her back to me." And so that happens, and David lays with the woman, and then Bathsheba got pregnant. So, yeah, we can fill in the details, right? But the thing is, the twist of this is that Bathsheba was married to this fierce warrior in the Israel's army. And so King David heard this, and he was honest. He'd be scared, right? This fierce warrior, and he slept with the wife of this fierce warrior. And so he sent this warrior to the front lines of the Israel's army, and it was a death sentence. Okay, because if you're on the front line, right, as we know in battle tactics, and especially like ancient battle tactics, like medieval times and stuff, if you're on the front line, you're basically the chance of dying is pretty dang high, right? You're the first one in the combat. And so Bathsheba's husband, right, he dies. And so this is a grave sin. King David he indirectly murders this warrior who did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong at all. It's not one of these times where this warrior, he did a lot wrong and his death was just. No. He didn't do anything wrong. It was King David's fault, right? This was his massive sin. And actually, this sin would be this downfall of his empire. It was because they never reached that level of stability again, especially after, right, Absalom's rebellion, right? And so it kind of just went downhill from there. But I really want to talk about the 4 stages that King David went through, and how sin goes stage by stage by stage by stage, right? And then you eventually get to the last stage, right? You get to where you're fully enclosed in the sin. Okay, so the first stage, and his first winning mistake, was the act of normalizing. Okay, and so what happened was King David, he took many wives and concubines. I just pronounced that wrong. But many wives as he was king, right? In Deuteronomy 17, I'll put the verse above me, it says to not take additional wives, right? Or mistresses, or lovers. Okay, and so King David taking all these wives and such, and so he's normalizing this behavior of a lust and sin. Even the king, even the person after God's own heart right now is normalizing this lust. He's inviting the devil to sit at his table. He's allowing the devil to get in his mind and say, it's okay to have multiple wives. It's okay to lust after these women. Now, if we compare it to today, how many times do we normalize things? Right? We watch the TV. Right? The TV normalizes violence, lust, language. It normalizes all these things. Just entertainment today normalizes all these things. And so I tell you why it's so important for us to know, what is right and wrong, and why we need to stay close to the guidelines of what God has given us. Because if we follow the world and what they're doing, we're going to see lust and violence and language and greed. We're going to see all that normalized. And we can see that happen with King David. So that's the first step, or that first stage. Now the second thing that happens with King David is he relaxes. Now relaxing is not bad, right? Go and relax, enjoy the life that God gave you. Okay, but King David went and he sent his army to go fight when, like I said before, the kings, right, normally would go with their army, especially during these spring months. Okay, so he's relaxing and now he's letting himself lay around, right? And when you're laying around and you don't want to have much in your mind, that's when the devil can attack. Okay? Very important. Very important. Because this seems like, okay, well, relax is not bad. And while, yes, it's directly not bad, right? When you're relaxing and then not, staying disciplined, right? King David was not staying disciplined, right? That's when the devil can get in your mind. Very important to remember that. This third stage, which happens to King David, is this fixation. Ooh, that's a strong word, right? This fixation. Right? What does it mean to have a fixation on something, right? It means to just be able to stare at something and just be just thinking of this thing so much, right? You cannot get it off your mind. That's what happened with Bathsheba. David goes and he's on a palace, and he looks across, right? Let's pretend these are the rooftops out here, right? He looks across and he sees this woman and he just keeps looking. She's beautiful, right? In Hebrew, it describes her as like a flower of light. Like she's so beautiful, right? So beautiful. And so David just keeps looking. And every single second he keeps looking, right? The devil gets more and more into his mind. We have to stay disciplined with our mind. We have to know when something is leading us down a road. The thing with sin is that it will give you short-term pleasure, right? It will give you that pleasure. It will give you a solution. Okay? And it might feel good for a while. It will feel good. It will feel good. Like when King David was looking at Bathsheba, did he feel bad? No. He enjoyed it. It was this beautiful woman bathing on a rooftop. Right? He most likely enjoyed that. Right? And so this thing with sin, though, is even says in Proverbs, right? You think you're going through this, walking down this road that's good, right? And that will lead you somewhere good, but Woody, you're walking down the road that will lead you to hell. That's the thing about sin. There's always a catch, and that catch is your life. It truly is. Okay? So remember, this number 3 right here, this fixation on Bathsheba. He can't look away, and he's finding out that he needs her, right? And it's that devil, it's that sin getting in his mind. You have to know, right, when to step away. It's that important. It is that simple. You have to know. There's number 4, and this is the biggest one. This is probably the biggest one here, and the one I struggle with the most, and I think a lot of us do, is just rationalizing. And so we rationalize. So King David goes, and he gets Bathsheba, he gets her pregnant, right? And what he's probably thinking is, oh, God has given me this great love, right? I've been living my life so good for God, and now I deserve this, right? Or Bathsheba's husband, this warrior, was probably a bad husband, right? He probably wasn't there for Bathsheba when she needed him. It's actually good that he died, right? Now this is good for Bathsheba, right? And God has, given me this gift, right? It's going to be good. I'm good. And it's actually a good thing that this happened. It's a good thing that I lust after this woman. It's going to be all good. This is from God. All right? That is rationalizing. Saying it's okay. And telling yourself and even giving yourself false information. A lot of times even twisting Bible verses so it makes you look good. It makes you feel better about yourself. This is something I struggle with definitely the most. Even if it's something like TV, right? I watch a movie that I probably, shouldn't watch. And I tell myself, oh, it's okay. It's not going to get in my mind. It's not going to impact me. I'm good. It's good. Violence is, it happens every day. It's fine. There was violence in the Bible, right? That's rationalizing. And so I know many of you can go through the same thing as me. Where I'm not going to sit here and be a Pharisee and tell you that you're doing all the things, right? And I don't do it, okay? Because I'll be straight with you. I do every single one of these things, okay? But the important thing is us recognizing when we do these things and us attacking it, okay? And so then we get to the final. What does it all lead to? Destruction. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Degeneration. Boom. Got it. Right? Degeneration. This is where sin and the devil has fully entered your mind. Fully entered your mind. And your relationship with God is basically, you have cut your relationship with God off. Right? Of course, God still wants that relationship with you. He's calling you. But you've cut that relationship off. You're fully embracing your sin. And this is what happened to King David. Right? He got to this point. Right? And that's probably what sent him off to kill the husband Bathsheba, because he got to this point, right? He's been through rationalizing, he's been through fixation, relaxation, right? He got to this point where sin has full entered his mind. Now he's like, it's okay to go kill the husband. Okay? Once again, he's rationalizing that it's okay, right? But we're at this stage right now. Right? Once you get here, trust me, you can get out. You can get out. But it's hard because the devil has such a twist in your mind. But how do I want to sum up this video is by saying, right, we fall to all of these sins. We do every single one of these in our daily lives. And the question is, how are we going to attack it? Right? Because if we can recognize it, once again, we can attack it. Okay? And so, as I leave here today, and I just want you to think about, these stages, and maybe how you can recognize it in your life. I've been trying to work on that myself. As you kind of close out listening today, and I thank you for listening, just always remember that you have the greatest ally, right, in God that you can ever have. Right? You have Scripture. Right? You have the Spirit. Right? The devil cannot beat you if you have God on your side, right? But if you cut that relationship off with God and try to go your own way, my friend, you will never win. I love you guys, and thank you for watching.